Fighting dogs, now that I became a trainer and learned how to train dogs, and learned how to give dogs CPR, learned how to bandage them up if they got broken limbs. You develop a different type of love for the dog. It's just like when I train dogs and I see them dogs leave. It hurts me to see them leave because I spent so much time with that dog.
It does.
But I know that it's not my dog. And that my job is to train it and let it go back to its owner. You know, that was my job, and that is your job as a trainer.
And so, do you think that people that get busted for this should not do jail time? Do you think they?
I can't say that because no man is without sin. You know, no one can cast a stone because we all have sinned. You must the president have sinned somewhere in his life. You know, you just make the person aware of what he's doing is wrong.
Do you think these people that fight dogs know that it's wrong?
Is going to war wrong?
Well, you have children, right?
Right.
Would you want your child to be treated like if you had a son, say, and you wanted him to be a boxer, would you perform the same type of training like you do with a dog and keep it locked up and in the dark?
That's a total. Even much when I did fight dogs, I didn't lock my dog up. He was a house dog. He was just trained to do what I asked him to do.
Did you get involved in this at a younger age because your brothers or your family was involved in it or anything? Or
no, I'm actually a military brat.
Because I hear that there's kids now that are like 9, 10 years old trying to fight these dogs.
There's no different than no, I'm not gonna go there, but
okay. I'm not here to judge you. I'm trying to figure out.
You have men in the armed forces fight dogs.
Yeah, I know that. I've heard that too. Why do you think people fight the pit bulls? What do they gain out of it? Do they think it's a sport? Is it for money? It's
for money, and it's also for sport. It's like a sport. It's like watching boxing, or I would say boxing. It's like watching. It's no different than men fighting men.
Is it gang related?
No, it's not gang related. I had a 208-pound Great Dane and Pit Bull that I fought against anything and everything that would come my way. Okay?
Did people bet on your dogs?
Of course. I would bet my life on that dog.
How did you train the dog?
How did I train him? I train him the way you would train your kid. How it's just like training a fighter. You have to exercise the dog. You have to keep him in shape. Training a dog.
You don't think it's abusive?
Is men fighting men's abusive? Men have died from fighting each other.
But a man,
it's no different than going to war.
A man chooses to fight. Pit bulls don't have the choice to fight.
Why they don't? It's like any other dog. If your dog sees another dog, it's going to go want to fight.
Right, and
that's the nature of the dog.
I agree because I do
dogs originated from wolves.
I have a chow in there, and I can agree with you. But I also have seen footage of how these people train the pit bulls to fight, and they whip them, they burn them, they beat them.
Well, I don't know all about that, but I know I train my dogs in a different way. I train my dog the same way I train myself to exercise and box and take martial arts.
So you kind of look at it as if two men fighting.
It's no different. It's history. Men have battled for centuries. It's no different than two men with swords in their hands. Or two men with two pistols turning their bikes and walking away and shooting at each other. So is that any different from two dogs fighting?
Well, if two dogs are fighting and one's all chewed up, Do they have undercover veterinarians? How do they treat the dogs to keep them?
Same way we did a hog dog. A dog that's trained to go out and catch hogs. The hog cut him up. You know what we did? We used fishing line to stitch him up.
How much money's involved in one of these fights?
That depends on. That really depends on how much you love your dog and
But if you're,
how much you willing.
are you a football fan?
Yes, I am.
Do you remember when it was released that Michael Vick's got arrested for the pit bull ring he was doing in his house?
Yes, I'm familiar with it. I'm also familiar with right here in South Florida, from the Florida Keys to the tip of the Panhandle, that they fought dogs all through the state of Florida.
Do you think it's because he's a celebrity? It came out and
exactly.
So
that's the media.
You weren't surprised when it came out?
No.
Do you think that the time he served was appropriate for the amount of dogs that they found with their necks cracked open and beaten to a pulp and drowned in his pool? And
well, see, that's taking it to the extreme, because it's just like a fighter. Say, for instance, if a fighter loses a fight, are you gonna throw him in jail? Or are you gonna hang him? I've known people that with the dog loose, they take bricks and tie him around and they can throw him in the lake because the dog lost money. But it's no different than a man going out there fighting, or a football, for instance, a football player going out there losing the game. Are you gonna kill him? No. He just lost the game.
How do not get wet? If your dog is getting his face torn apart, do you stop the fight, or do you fight the dogs till one dies?
Well, that is the nature of the beast. Okay? It is no different than going to war. People die in war every day.
Did that dog only listen to you?
My dog did. Every dog I train listens to me. I mean, you can walk him, you can be in the house with him, but whenever I'm there, I have total control of the dog. Same thing with your dog. As long as you're there, he's going to be calm. Listen.
But what does it mean, bait dogs? How do they use bait dogs? I know
bait dogs is actually fighting a dog against a dog that is not as aggressive as the dog you're trying to train. It's no different than two puppies fighting over food.
So do they dangle the puppy in front of them because they're starving and they want to attack the... I mean, I don't know what the term bait dogs means. That's what I'm asking you. Because I hear it a lot.
It's called game. Actually, it's called gaming. It's just like training a dog to hunt a hog, or training a dog to hunt. Or it's no different than training a dog.
But how do you train that?
It's no different than training a dog, how to train a dog to find cocaine. You teach it. Same way you would train them how to sit, how to shake hands.
And then they eat the bait dogs are only little dogs, or do they use other
bait dogs are dogs that you know that ain't gonna give the dog a fight, that ain't gonna be aggressive, because bait dogs will not break the dog's spirit. If you break the dog's spirit when it's young, as he's growing, he's not gonna want to fight.
And how long do people fight these dogs until?
It's no different than a human being. You fight them until they get old, then they're out of the game. You breed them and you keep going.
All right, I have a pit bull. I don't have her with me. She was found on the streets. She was filled with milk, completely exhausted, wrapped around a tree when we found her. There was no puppies. The vet said that most likely She just had the puppies, and
She's a breeder.
they had to pump the milk. But she was only a year and a half. Why wouldn't they have used her more? Or do you think she escaped?
She was a breeder.
But don't they keep breeding these dogs? Or I mean, she was only a year, so she probably could have had more litters of puppies.
Exactly, but you wouldn't want to breed. You wouldn't want to fight your female because that's your breeder. That's what produces your fighters.
Right, but I'm trying to figure out. Do you think she escaped, or what? Or why didn't they keep her to keep breeding her?
Maybe they just got tired of her. Maybe she was not what they expected for us in a breed.
Okay, I'm just trying to figure out her because
there's different types.
I'm drawn to pit bulls now because of this dog.
There's different types of breeds of pit bulls. Well, I take that back. They think there's different types of breed of pit bulls, which in a way there are. You know, because you can breed a pit bull with bull mastiff. You can breed it with where it's over 500 pounds. It's bigger than his mother and his father.
You would own one of those?
Yes, I would in a heartbeat.
My other question, my pit bull was filled with scars around her back hind legs. What do you think that means?
That means that whoever that type of dog that was fighting it was a leg dog. So
what's a leg dog?
Dogs that you train to go, you can train a dog to go for different parts of dog bodies. You train a dog to go for a dog's nuts, legs. You train them to train them to go for tender spots on a dog. That makes the dog surrender.
Okay, so how do you think they did that? Tell me the process of that.
That I don't want to get into because that's a long process. But
okay,
it's like training a dog how to. Okay, you're a dog trainer.
All right, I'm just trying to figure out what happened to my pit bull before I found her.
That I can't tell you because I don't know the history of the dog, and neither do you.
Right,
so
that's why
we don't know what type of abuse that the dog knows. We just know that she's been abused.
Right, but that's why I'm asking you, what if you know what those signs stand for? The scars all on her back of her hind legs.
It could be big dog. It could be from the chain. It could be from being wrapped around a tree. It could be various of things. And so you can't necessarily say. The only thing we know that the dog was abused. She was abused.
But she's so sweet.
They all are. Any dog is. If you train it.
Since you're cracking down a little bit more, where do people fight these dogs? In their house? I mean, they can't do it out here in the public without getting caught.
That I can't answer.
Okay.
Okay. Because in that case, you have illegal street fighting.
But it is happening here in Fort Lauderdale or South Florida, the pit bull fighting.
It happens all around the world, not just in South Florida.
Right. Well,
it happens in other countries.
Now, have you heard of in Wilton Manors there was an arrest? It's called trunking. That they put the two pit bulls in a trunk and they drive around blaring their music and let the dogs fight in the trunk until one dies, or they stop thumping the car and then they open the trunk and throw the one overboard onto the curb. Have you heard of that term, trunking?
Nah.
Have you heard of people fighting dogs in a trunk?
First of all, it is too close in of an area for two dogs to fight. For one.
That's a lot of people say it's almost impossible to have dogs fight in a trunk.
It is. There's no room for either dog to move.
So, but if you put two aggressive dogs in a trunk, what do you think? You think they wouldn't go after each other? Or is it the owners that are egging them on to fight?
Well, what are they going to do? Fight? They're going to fight on their knees? They're going to fight basically laying down? Because man one can stand up. So it's really not a fight. But the average dog, as long as you don't move, he will not attack.
These fighting dogs that do get saved and they get sent to the Humane Society, do you think that they can be
no.
put back out with a family?
If the dog is aggressive, if he's an aggressive animal, I take that back because I've trained aggressive dogs. But it's tough breaking the dog down and winning him over. But it can be done. But once some becomes a one owner dog, it's time to put him down, because he has you are his enemy.
Because a lot of people want to adopt these dogs.
And I would say adopt them, as long as they're not aggressive. But you have to get to know the animal. You have to let the animal trust you.
Is there any signs that a dog would show to know that it was a fighting dog? Because a lot of people find random pit bulls here and there. How do you know if it was a fighting dog? Just because it would act aggressive? Would it act timid around you? Would it act, or you don't know?
That varies. I've just, okay, for instance.
Is the pit bull, is it a myth or is it true that pit bulls have locked jaws? When
Yes,
somebody says, oh, all pit bulls have locked jaws, do you have to train the dog to have that?
No,
gain the muscle?
That is the nature, and that is the breed which comes from the bulldog. Bulldogs have locked jaw. Without bulldogs, there is no such thing as a pit bull. Pit bulls were not originated if there was no bulldogs.
So do you have any advice if a person's walking down the street and with their golden retriever or pit, whatever it is, and a fighting pit bull gets loose and goes after the dog, is there any way to stop it, to protect their own dog? They do say, some dogs, you pick them up by their ribs or in a wheelbarrow, but with the pit bulls, they'll just lock on and not let go?
Some, depends on the dog. I've seen some lock on to things and then just hang there for dear life. So there's a way to unlock the dog. It's just like any other dog.
Well, would a hose with water work?
That only thing, that's not gonna break up dogs. Maybe a German Shepherd, or then again depends on how aggressive the dog is and how vicious it is.
But would you advise a person just to back away, or what? If I was with my child right now and a pit bull came and I started freaking out, would you?
Would I leave my dog? No.
No. You're just here right now and I'm walking my dog and some random pit comes, starts attacking my dog. Would you try to break it up?
Of course I will.
But how would you do it? Punching him, kicking him?
No. I would take a lighter and stick it to his balls.
What if he has no balls?
If he has no balls, there's a tender spot. Burn his nose.
And you don't think he'll bite you?
No. How is he going to bite? It's no different than taking pepper spray and spraying into an eye. Are you going to continue to fight?
Would pepper spray work?
Yes, it will.
On dogs?
Yes, it will. Why do you think mailmans have carried them for many years? You can't bite what you can't see.
Well, I'm just saying, because maybe if these pit bulls that get loose and kill people's dogs because they're terrified to break it up, we could avoid that if people knew how to.
Pepper spray.
Pepper spray would be the best for somebody to carry with them. Okay.
That is the best way and safest. Well,
what's your opinion on the pit bulls? Why do you think they have such a bad reputation here in South Florida?
Well, we have to go back through history. Pit bulls are originated from bulldogs, which bulldogs was dogs that was dogs that flipped bulls. Okay, it originated from that. They fighted bulldogs over centuries. Okay, and as years went by, they breeded it with different types of dogs. That's how you get bull mastiffs, bull terriers. Okay, these are dogs that originated from centuries of bulldogs flipping 1,500-pound bulls. Okay, the sport of fighting dogs
Oh yes.
It's very dangerous for dogs. Okay.
Is that why you think they have a bad reputation, because of the pit bulls that are fighting?
No, there's a difference between fighting dogs and house dogs. Okay.
Before we continue, do you think that the pit bulls are born aggressive, or is it the way they are trained?
It is in their breed. It originated from a bull terrier, which bull terriers were small dogs that killed rats on ships. So it has a killer instinct. It also has a fox terrier, which fox terriers were small dogs that goes into foxholes and gets foxes. It was the only dog that was small enough that could go in a foxhole. So it has a history of being aggressive because of the type of game